But it is interesting to note that, like, if we're going from the beginning here, you start the radio show at a time where there was no radio for this, and there's a direct straight line from your radio show to basically hip hop reaching the mainstream in Canada from having this relationship with Maestro.
Yeah, and you got to ask Maestro this when you see him too. He just gave me a shout out today. I think the reason Maestro got signed is partly because I had a concert with this recording artist named Stevie B. You guys ever heard of Stevie B? Okay, I'm the one who brought Stevie B to town, and that's when Maestro made the connection with Stevie B's people who ended up signing him to America. So a lot of people don't know it. I did some of those Geno shows too. I brought up Trinaire and Alicia and the Cover Girls and stuff like that, New Shoes, but sometimes under different names. So yeah, we got to ask Maestro that. I believe that's a true story, that Maestro got signed partly because of the timing of me bringing Stevie B to town.
All right, so Maestro breaks in '89, which is around the same time that your kind of tenure on the show, I'm not sure, kind of comes to an end. Why does the Fantastic Voyage? What happens when the Fantastic Voyage is ending, so to speak?
Well, hip hop is changing. I'm losing my grip on it a little bit, and the people around me can tell. One man is not an island, and here I was with my hands full, right? Promoting is now a full-time responsibility, and I'm not able to put into the show the 100% DJ enthusiasm that I used to. And also, I'm not relating to the new music as much now, right? The styles are changing. The music is changing. It's becoming a lot more of a lucrative industry. But I come from the old school. I'm from the age where, people are rapping because they need to express themselves, or, it's some kind of therapy, or it's a way of getting out of the ghetto or whatever. Like there's consciousness in that era. And now I'm entering the era where there's no consciousness anymore, but the styles are changing and new people are coming into the business. And I got guys around me like X and Thrust and Power and Mastermind and all like a whole collection of people, not to mention the rappers like Rumble. And then I'm in a friggin' studio in my basement. While being a promoter, I also have my recording studio, which is busy every day. And I've talked Ivan Berry into putting his recording studio in my basement as well. So I'm doing all these things. And hip hop, I always say, is always, it belongs to youth. It belongs to young people. It's driven by youth and youthful energy. And my friend started giving me the idea that, Ron, maybe it's time to give the show to us now and let us run it, because, they're 10 years younger than me. They have the enthusiasm. They're on the streets. They've adapted to the music the way it is now, where I'm kind of falling off a little bit because I'm still kind of stuck in the old school. And I think the great thing about me is that, I'm unselfish. And I also had this great amount of confidence that I can live beyond the Fantastic Voyage program. And I let it go. I said, you know what? I don't want to be a burden. I'm going to give it to you guys now. You guys could be the next. I actually named the show The Power Move when I gave it to X, and basically said I'll kind of watch you for a little bit, but it's yours now. I'm just going to keep doing my thing,
Okay, great. So with that being said, and thank you for being open and talking about that, because it sounds like it was something that you definitely thought about for a while at the time.
No, not really.
Yeah, okay. No. You didn't. Okay. That being said, we would like to bring out DJ X to talk a little bit about what he feels about this point in time, because him taking over. So let's bring out DJ X first of all. So, can you talk a little bit about what you feel, from inheriting this, what you feel the legacy of the Fantastic Voyage radio show is?
Wow, that's deep. The legacy is huge. I mean, it changed the landscape of the music here in Canada, and directly changed my life. You know, it was just such an interesting time, right? I mean, there was no internet. It wasn't nothing like it is today. There were really only, you know, a couple sources where you could hear the music. And this was he was the man, like that was the show. And, you know, it was so deep that at times you would put tinfoil on your antenna to just be able to get the station. And I know a lot of people talk about that, but that shit is real. We used to do that. So if you lived, you know, in North York or somewhere far away from the station and it was hard to get, that's what you needed to do to you know, have it be clear. And it was the nucleus of our industry. I mean, where else could you go? Where could you, if you're a promoter and you had a party and you wanted to get the word out to people, where were you gonna go? If you were an artist and you wanted your record played, which back in that day probably wasn't even a record, it would be a cassette, you needed the Fantastic Voyage Program. I mean, it just broke so many barriers. And then when you kind of add Ron's creativity into the mix, and just, you know, the promoting of the culture, you know, it's funny because they put up a flyer of the battle. That was hip hop culture back in the day. You know, it was about battling. And so that was a reflection of the culture. And that's how I see the Fantastic Voyage Program. And everything that, you know, he did with it, you know, back then. So it was just really a reflection of the culture. Ron was a great presenter of that culture. He really represented, and the show was groundbreaking, and it changed so many lives, from artists to promoters to DJs to venues, record companies, and the list just magazines. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So, I mean, you know, to answer your question, the legacy is just, I mean, you know, we could sit here all night and talk about it, which I guess that's what we're doing, but.
Yeah, well, thank you, X. Appreciate it.
And thanks for everyone who's come out tonight, by the way, in case I didn't say it before. Really appreciate the love, man. Yeah.